Today with the ninth graders we're doing a thinking routine called Beauty and Truth, and the idea is because we're reading Mouse, the graphic novel about the Holocaust, this will be sort of a good way of having the students articulate the purpose of literature in terms of something that's aesthetically appealing, something that's engaging to the reader, but also needs to communicate something real and historical. We've been discussing whether this is an effective medium, whether a graphic novel is a good way to portray the Holocaust. On one hand, it's sort of a simple kind of animal animation, childlike aesthetic. And then on the other hand, you get to chapter 4 and we see things like this, right, where it starts to get a little bit darker, a little bit more emotional. The rational, data-driven, historical, maybe understanding of the subject, and then sort of the emotional one. So today we're just going to do a little activity called Beauty and Truth in order to talk about how these things interact. So before we even dive in though, I just want to make sure we get these terms down. Now, what do we mean when we refer to beauty within art or literature? Yeah, Gabe.
How to describe it, like the art itself.
Okay, so the art itself, so the visual. So when we talk about beauty, right, we're just talking about sort of the basic visuals we see.
And it somewhat speaks out to you, like you feel what it's like.
Someone else just build on what Myra just said. Speaks to you in what way?
Evokes an emotion.
Right, so we kind of have this will be our class definition. When we say beauty, we mean it speaks to you, there's something about the visuals, it invokes some type of emotion. And then the other thing it does is maybe try to tell some type of truth. Now what would truth be, Myra?
Besides its beauty, it's actually telling you a story.
A story. Yeah, Gloria.
I think truth could be more like the actual facts of the Holocaust in general, like how many people died.
Absolutely. So we've got facts, we've got the story that's based on the factual data. You know, literature is both a reflection of the real world. It's an attempt to make sense of something that's actually happened, but it's also something completely created, new, fictive, fabricated. And so trying to reconcile those two ideas, okay, again, we need something aesthetically appealing. We need something that can engage visually and render an emotional response. But at the same time, we don't want to be irreverent. We do need the quote-unquote truth part of it. That conversation needs to be had about kind of where this graphic novel falls between those two ends of the spectrum. And so the first thing I kind of want you guys to do, if you don't mind dividing this paper into 4. So with each of these, what's going to happen is you're going to decide on your panel. I want everyone to select one. You guys the other day learned how to use the copier, right? So you might have to run that, then cut it and everything else. And then right underneath it, maybe just annotating in the margin, just one sentence. Why did you pick this? What effect does it have? Why is it striking? And then right down below, you're going to do the same thing for some panel that in your mind gives us some type of truth. I'll kind of let you interpret that how you want. We've got glue sticks, we've got scissors.
I have page 82. I'm just going to do 80 and 90.
I think one of the things about doing a poster, about documenting your learning, about having that learning being visual, is sometimes as a teacher I might take for granted that a student might be self-conscious about their own ideas, about their own intellectual capacity. And so I think seeing other students model it, seeing, okay, well here's what my partner did, the ideas that they put down, what I end up finding is, you know, I can hang in this conversation, I'm seeing everyone else give their thoughts, and my thoughts are valuable too. And like I said, once you kind of find the visually appealing, the quote-unquote beauty, maybe as a group, do the same thing for your truth, and then we'll sort of have the discussion about them and their relationship. Now, if you have one image and you want to find the quote-unquote truth and beauty in each, you're welcome to do so as well. Again, I'm hoping that they are really able to sort of dive into the panels of the graphic novel and spend some time really unpacking that. It stands out. What does the white surrounding it do for you?
The last few pages were all like very dark, like with a lot of shadows, and because he was telling the story and then this is a transition and him asking to stop and it's completely white, so that's why it's like so stark.
And what feeling does it evoke?
Well, it's almost kind of sad in a way because he's telling this story and then it goes back to him and he's still he's like getting tired and like the Vladik is like having health issues later on in the book, and it makes me kind of sad because like we're immersed in this story but we also come back and he's still not only feeling the effects of it but he's like still this kind of troubled individual.
I did that one.
Yeah.
And the beauty in it is like it really shows the silhouettes of the people running, and it just kind of feels really sad.
Or a bit of both. Hudson, how do you feel reading this?
It's really hard to read some bits. It's very upsetting. But like learning about it, I think is more important. Because you can use that to help you.
So it's not enjoyable, but it's worthwhile.
Yeah, like I wish it didn't happen, but like with the knowledge, like and learning of it, it's definitely better than just forgetting that it ever happened.
Yeah. Someone tell me, and again, attention up here unless you're actually in the act of physically writing. Someone tell me an image that jumped out, sort of in like the beauty, the visually appealing.
The panel which Vlad is standing in the Star of David.
Yeah.
It's like the panel is shaped in the Star of David, and it's when he's talking about like how the Nazis are rounding up Jews. I thought that was interesting because it's like they didn't get him, even though it's like he was wearing a jacket with the Star of David on it, and he was like walking through the middle of town.
Nico points out a great image if you look at 80. Is he standing in an actual slab of pavement that's shaped like the Star of David? No, so nothing about that's realistic. That's purely some type of artistic flourish, right? Okay, this is the conversation we had last week about the techniques. The white space where there's no frame, or the cross-hatching, or the silhouetting. Nora, what do you pick?
On page 74, I picked the one where it like shows him at the table with all his family. Cause like it talks about how when he first came home, it looked like it had before he left.
And I actually feel like the second question is much harder. I don't know even how I would define that, what I would pick. But someone tell me what you selected for being truthful.
Them getting their passport stamped, and it's like, and then it shows the little passports with the J on it, and that, I don't know, but my grandparents have like my great grandparents' passports with the Jew stamp on it, and so it was like, you know, it felt like everyone had to do it, or like they died, and so it's
like the real life things that people were facing and all of that.
yeah.
Maybe just write your response based on your image or your thought on this one right here. But how might beauty or an emotional understanding of literature help us understand the truth? This is just a way of saying, right, why might we need the beauty part of it in order to get to the truth? I'm hoping for, and I never want to say discomfort, but it shouldn't be easy. This is a hard book, it's a hard topic, it's a hard conversation. And so there's questions on the margin of, well, you know, I kind of like the artwork, but also it's not an enjoyable reading experience. I'm hoping students grapple with those questions. Yeah, Nora, what about you?
I feel like if you don't have the beauty, then like the truth won't like stand out as much, because it's like when like you think about like a perfect day, reliving it over and over again, you wouldn't ever know that it's perfect if it's all like the same. So if you get the beauty, then you realize that there's truth.
So beauty can like convey a bit of emotion.
I think beauty ties in with just visuals in general, because even if something is like haunting, like that image, the art of it could be really beautiful. And so like by seeing the pain, it seems more real than just hearing about it. And
Yeah, you know, thinking about students and how students have responded, I both had, you know, students who have loved the graphic novel who said, oh, but now this conversation is making me reconsider maybe if this is the best medium. How might beauty conceal the truth? What are the ways in which, quote unquote, the beautiful, the visual, might actually hold you back or conceal something we need to know?
The way they portray the pictures might change the way that the scene was supposed to go. Like they might change it to be like a little more sad than it actually was, or a little more happy, or they might just change the emotion of the scene.
It like could form like a bias in your brain, so you're like, when you think about like what's actually going on, you're like affected by what you saw, and what like that it imagines what's happening for you, and then you just like you build your your idea of what's going on off of the beauty.
I think the exact conversation we had with the Beauty and Truth routine, and the hope would be, both in class but also out of class, that kind of whatever they encounter now, they're thinking about things like art, literature, fiction, the abstract, but also how successfully those convey real truths.